Good morning, good morning, good morning. I am not Timucin. I'm hosting, filling in, which basically makes this as reckless of a Friday as possible when he allows the three of us. You know he was sleeping in and he's not even going to watch because he doesn't even want to think about what it would be like to edit this thing out. Um, for anyone that doesn't know or new to the program, I am Gally. I'm going to take the host today, and ultimately it means I'm going to ask these guys questions. They're going to answer shit that they want to talk about, not really what I asked. But we're going to have a good footy chat, and hopefully we'll get through a few things. In the bio, you'll see some of the links to our other pages. If you haven't already, give this stream a like, subscribe to the channel, and if you're so inclined, share it to some folks who think might want to tune in, or just laugh at us and make derogatory comments about the American who hosts the show. But Kazi, Anand, we'll start with you, Kaz. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing tremendous. It's Friday. The Reds are back. And I quite like the Reds at the moment, which is nice. So, yeah.
It is always nice to do a show with you when you actually like the Reds. That is fun. It is fun to have them back, too. I got to tell you, I needed this international break. I think between how stressful the end of the transfer window was, the emotional fun matches that we had, but the last minute winners and almost all three of them, I could use a little break. And it's always nice when the international break comes and I actually detach from football, which I can only thank the United States men's national team setup for that, for their pitiful performances over the last 18 to 24 months that have made me so disenfranchised that I basically don't care. Don't go there, Anand. We are not talking about it today. We'll talk about your Triple G obsession another time. Speaking of obsessions, Anand, how are you, my friend?
I am good. Very, very good. And don't worry, wait 15 minutes into the next game and Kazi will hate the team again. Just give it 15 minutes and then we'll win in the 90th and he's gonna fucking love him again. So don't you worry.
That's footy, though, isn't it? That's footy. You hate the
That
moment.
is footy. We will get to the Burnley match, but I thought, we're 3 matches in. We all made our predictions at the beginning of the season. Figure maybe we take a quick look at the table, talk a little bit about what we think from a global scale, the whole league. We can fix Liverpool into that. But so I got the table up here, top half, bottom half. Clearly, this is not how this thing is going to go because Everton and Sunderland are not going to finish in European places, I don't believe. But can't deny that they've both had strong starts to the campaign. Everton needed it probably more than any club in the world with the new stadium and everything to just get off to a good start, give their supporters something to be excited about. Kazi, I'm not going to ask you to comment on how happy you are with Everton's good start or good fortunes. But if you look at this top half of the table, let's start there. Any of the surprising teams that might be up there, Everton, Sunderland, Palace, Manchester United, that you actually believe have a shot of finishing? I had to do it, United supporters, that have a chance of actually finishing in this top half? Or do you think there's a little bit of early season fool's gold and, the league will right itself as it always does within 8 more match days?
Yeah, I think 3 games in's a bit early, really. Because it also depends on your fixtures, of course. But I'm probably adding the anomaly. I thought Everton would finish in the top 10 at the start of the season. I thought they've made some really good signings, not including Grealish and Dewsbury Hall and players like that. But they've actually looks like they have a proper football manager now, which is handy.
That's the biggest key for me, Moyes.
Yeah, for them, unfortunately for us, but for them, at least it's fortunate that they have a proper football manager who sets standards and doesn't lower standards. You very much have seen a couple of interviews already when he walked in. He supposedly said to the players, going, "I'm not here to manage a relegation threatened side." And he said it again in the summer. He said, "I'm not here to manage a team that's going to be fighting relegation." I think that's just not happening. So that's quite nice to automatically set those standards. And I also I love Sunderland signings. I really do. And I thought they've made some great signings. I like Adingra from Brighton. I couldn't believe they got him. To be honest, especially for that price, I thought it was a good deal for them. And then Granit Xhaka to bring that experience in. They signed a few other players as well. So, I mean, it's hard to say so early on in the season, but the top 5, well, the top 4 at least, you expect to be finishing in the top 7. Those teams. So it looks like even 3 games in, the top 4 you expect to finish in the top 7, which is just kind of sets the standards. The anomaly, of course, is City. You still probably expect to bounce back from their start. Do you know what I mean? But nah, man, it's interesting. It's probably the first time in years where some of the promoted clubs actually look like half decent sides, which is nice to see. Again, we've spoken about this before, lads, on this podcast. I've been a big believer in this for the last few years. We need a promoted side to stay up.
I think it's almost imperative that this year that one of those three stay up.
Yeah.
So Anand, looking at this, if we, you can comment on the top half of the table or focus down on the bottom half of the table. Kazi made the comment about City. We know they're not going to lose 2 out of every 3 matches they play this season, right?
It'd be nice.
But when you see that list of injuries that they have right now across their entire squad, the squad that, and it is funny, right? You get Pep Linders to start running trainings and all of a sudden guys start getting muscle injuries and soft muscle fatigue injuries, and maybe they're training a little harder than they used to. And we used to see that often with Liverpool.
Intensity.
Do you have faith?
Well,
not in Pep as much, but do you have faith that City side, with the players they have and kind of the construction of that squad, that they'll not only put it together, but can they put it together fast enough to climb back up the table and actually make a title challenge run? Or are they in one of those influx years where maybe they're battling to finish 5th or 4th and make sure they stay in the Champions League, and this kind of, because they're in a rebuild. Let's be real. That's what's happening at City. It is a rebuild.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Pep, our Pep, not their Pep. He goes to Salzburg. They start having those injuries. He's at City. It's injuries. I mean, Salzburg was I was just for fun when somebody posted that intensity book picture. Started looking at injury record for Red Bull Salzburg, the previous year to him and the year to him, and 6 games in, they're 4 injuries in. The whole previous season, there are 3 injuries in the whole season, which is kind of crazy. Like, maybe it has something to do with it. But no, I think City will be fine. Look, I'm no expert, but I'll give you one guarantee: Arsenal will come second. I'll put money on that right now. Arsenal will come second. Other than that, Bournemouth are quite impressive, aren't they? After losing a couple of key players, thought Brentford would have a better start to the season, but we're here. Sunderland, impressive. Jack Grealish, player of the month. I mean, wow. Who would have thought? Maybe he's one of those players that are not built for a big club, but they're a small club kind of team. Kind of player that shines when the lights aren't as bright. But it's only 3 games in, right? If you look at the season last year, 3 games in, Spurs were winning the league, right? So it's a little too soon. We'll look 10 weeks in and see how that looks. And I have a feeling it's going to be major changes in there.
Good morning, everybody. I've been bringing up the good mornings and to each other. Thanks for joining. We appreciate it, AR. To everyone in the chat, hello to you as well. I don't disagree about Grealish. I think Grealish has been really refreshing. He's 4 assists, and I think it's not even just the 4 assists. He's created like 9 big chances, and then they've scored 4 of them. So the combination they looked really good last week when they moved Dewsbury Hall into the 10 hole, and he actually played behind the striker. And I know Kazi's been big on Dewsbury Hall for years. I joked on the Monday Night Podcast, it must be killing him that maybe his largest crush in the Premier League outside of a Liverpool player goes to Everton. But he was perfect for what they needed. I mean, they probably never gave Decore, and I'm not comparing the 2 players, they never gave Decore enough credit. When they were doing well, it was usually him creating behind the strikers and making those late runs into the box. I feel like Dewsbury Hall adds a layer of sophistication and a better footballing mind.
Yeah.
He fits Everton well. To your point, Anand, I don't want to say it's just Jack Grealish at a small club, because I think if he had gone to even a bigger club that allowed him to play with some flair, he might have been okay. I just think he went to the absolute wrong club when he joined City, because Pep just neuters players like that and says, no, you're not going to play this way. We don't play with flair. We don't. It's not his style. I mean, he did it with Mahrez at the beginning, all the flicks and tricks. I think he's going to do it with Turkey, and I think it's part of the reason Turkey might not hit the heights that he might have. If Turkey probably should have went to United, where Amorim would have let him just play in the 10 and do whatever he wanted and flick the ball around and just be a better version of Anthony. But I got to say, Anand, you teed it up with Jack Grealish, player of the month. announced today also was that Arne Slot, that bald SOB, was the manager of the month, which is interesting because that feels to me like it's a little bit of results driven, because I'd argue a promoted side getting 2 wins and losing in the last minute to another promoted side is probably a more impressive first month than Slot winning. And I understand the matches were tough. Arsenal at home, away to Newcastle with the drama that came with it, Bournemouth at home. But sometimes I wonder if they've just looked at the table and said, that's a carryover from last year. He's the only perfect record. He should win the award. What you got on that?
I also think, he gets it. Yes, results driven, but 2 of those wins are substitutions he made 5 minutes before they scored the winners. You got Chiesa comes in, scores the winner. You got Rio comes in, scores the winner. So they're like, okay, this guy's a genius. He knows when to sub. But it's in reality, he's like, fuck it, you go. Do something, you Italian bastard.
Well, let's be real. He walked up and down the bench and he was like, Can someone remind me what the ball boy's name is again? Get ready, kid. Go do something. I mean, he gave him 5 minutes in extra time. Let's not act like he brought him in at the 70th minute and it all changed the entire output of the game.
It can't be anyone else, could it? It can't be.
Well, that's the issue.
As much as I don't really care about these type of awards because it's all subjective, you know what I mean?
Right.
Grealish has had an unbelievable start, but if it wasn't Grealish, it had to be Ekitike, for example. Do you know what I mean?
I'd argue Szoboszlai, but that's just me.
Oh, you would? But I mean, I just think again, it's all subject based and it's subjective, whatever you want. But if someone wins 3 out of 3, I think it just, you know what I mean? It's like whoever wins the manager of the year, and manager of the year is always the person who usually wins the league. It's just like it's just what it is.
Unless there's some form of like those couple. There was one time Klopp won it when we finished second, but we got 99 points, and they had Pep fatigue because they had given it to him 3 years in a row, and we won the Champions League. Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty damn good year.
There's an argument last year you could have picked Eddie Howe, for example. There's definitely an argument if Slot doesn't win it in his first season, but of course Slot wins it in his first. Eddie Howe would be right up there, but again, it's all subjective. It's great for the manager, but yeah.
So the thing for me, Scott Parker, Burnley, they've been playing some really, really beautiful football. It's just they haven't won. No. I'm not saying he is manager of the month. I'm just saying he's one of those that stand out because the team is playing really nice football, but unfortunately they're not winning games. But if you watch their game against United, for example, like how do you not win that, right? It's just pure unlucky. An offside goal that got chucked off that wasn't offside. That's a whole. Hopefully, we talk about VAR today because that's a whole different conversation.
We didn't have matches last weekend. This is the one time we can take a VAR-free weekend because they didn't screw anything up last weekend.
We'll have a chat.
But I will say one thing that wasn't subjective of the monthly awards from the Premier League was Dominic Szoboszlai winning goal of the month because let's just be real, he probably delivered the goal of the year. As I think Kazi said, the best free kick he's ever seen.
Best free kick I've ever seen. At Liverpool, for Liverpool player it is, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a brilliant, brilliant free kick. Well, let's get into the Burnley match. We'll preview Burnley versus Liverpool. Obviously, we're going to talk a little later in the show about the Champions League. Kind of like preview that a little bit because it kicks off on Wednesday, which is crazy and exciting because now we're back to that point of playing twice a week all the way through January. For the Burnley match, Kazi, obviously everybody's had 2 weeks, but some of the South American players did play more games, played more meaningful games than, say, some of the English setup guys. News this morning, I believe I saw Curtis Jones is out for the match to Burnley tomorrow. So, knowing we have a tricky fixture against a tough opponent in Atletico Madrid midweek, what are you doing tomorrow tactically? We're playing the low block. Are you starting anything different than what you believe, than what started against Arsenal? Do you rotate a little bit here? Do we go back to a traditional right back in this match, as an example?
The Curtis Jones injury, that's probably confirmed Szoboszlai's not playing right back anytime soon. So that's confirmed. Especially with Bradley kind of fit and Frimpong is back. So that experiment is probably over for a while. I'm very much, when I see these type of games, I'm very much of playing, you pick your team for Atletico and work backwards. I've always kind of done that, really. So who's going to be fit enough to play Atletico is the argument. So for example, are we having Gomez do one of these games? because I don't know what Canate is. Canate goes off with cramp. I think he plays a bit for France in international.
Played the full game.
Yeah.
Yeah, he played one full 90.
So, are we? This is the part of this now, gents. So the real footy kicked in. Okay. With no Gahey, we have to be very careful here, centre half. I think we all probably agree with that, don't we? Do you know what I mean? We have two centre halves who love a 6 weeks. Canate loves a 6 to 8 weeks. Gomez could love a 6 weeks to 3 months. We have no idea, to be fair. So, are we all into Burnley away, Atletico Madrid, by the way, and we know what we're getting out of them, and then the derby. So, you really need to start picking your games here. I don't mind Gomez doing Burnley. I would do Gomez for Burnley because I want Canate to do the other two. I want Canate for Atletico Madrid and Everton because I think I want Canate's size against Beto.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm working this out here a little bit. And then you can also say to Canate, well, you're not playing Southampton because you're not going to be playing that League Cup game. And then again, we're working those games out, and that's what he's probably going to have to do for a lot of this centre half until he fancies Leone in a game, which I don't. He might fancy Leone in a game against Southampton.
I think that's where Leone lands. I think he gets to start against Southampton, and maybe
with Gomez is the argument. Do you do him against with Gomez? Do you think?
I think you have to, because I mean, for me, I'm telling Virgil van Dijk, you're not even coming to the Southampton. I tell Virgil van Dijk and Mo Salah, I might tell Virgil, Mo, and Ali, you're not playing in the League Cup.
I know.
Period.
Even if it's the final, you don't play.
No, you're not playing in this competition.
I know. I agree, and I agree with
that. Wrap them up in wool.
I agree with that. So I think that's where the manager has to land on. I think he'd probably do Bradley. Don't mind doing Bradley, Gomez, Van Dijk, and Robertson left back, because I think he wants Kirkes for Atletico Madrid, because you probably know what you're going to get out of Simeone, and I want more of the attacking-minded left back in that sense. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want more of a bombing on. Liverpool going to have 70% of the ball against Atletico. So I'd rather have someone who's going to have a better cross of the ball or create a bit more. Do you know what I mean? And Kirkes feels like that type. But then you're arguing that you're probably changing two of the back five. But again, you're in that stage of the season where you've probably got to manage minutes and time, because muscle injuries happen, hamstring, cramp. They're just still building up. Do you know what I mean? So I think this is a bigger decision than what people might think it is.
Anand, we'll move up the pitch into the midfield. Obviously, I think we're all convinced. We all know Gravenberch is going to start in his position. To me, that is the most guaranteed, locked-in thing outside of Mo Salah and Virgil van Dijk. Ryan Gravenberch is playing. After that, you have Florian Wirtz, you have McAllister, and you have Szoboszlai. Two-parter. One, we know that with no Curtis Jones, you're one body shorter in that midfield. So automatically there, though, you need a sub from the bench. So there isn't a world where all of them play.
Yeah.
But we also know that McAllister has a notorious track record of coming back from these long international breaks with Argentina and absolutely putting in a stinker in the first match back.
Wolves away. Remember when
it's still the worst performance I've seen from a Liverpool midfielder in a long time.
It was one of the worst performances I've ever seen.
Yeah. That's crazy. We watch Curtis Jones every week. But
yeah.
Fella, I'm gonna come for you now. I'm gonna burn your place down. He was unbelievable when he came up.
So I'm so pissed every time he comes on. I'm like, man, this guy's trash. And then he like drops a fucking prime Jared. I was like, what do I even say right now? Like, I got nothing.
He was so good against Arsenal.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So what are you thinking we do here? Do you think it's McAllister and grab deep? Do you think it is Szoboszlai and grab deep, or is there a world where he goes back to the tried and trusted midfield three and Wirtz comes off the bench? I don't see that happening, because they want Wirtz to get off against this Burnley side. It's why you bought him, right? For the low block sides.
I think we're still at the part of the season where we want to keep playing our best 11 until they're match fit. And that's where the question for McAllister comes in. Is he match fit to even play the first 60 minutes? So I don't think McAllister starts. I think we're going to see Florian. I think we're going to see Gravenberch. And I think we're going to see Szoboszlai. But is Frimpong ready to go? Because if Frimpong is, he's the right back lock. I think every single player we signed this summer outside of Isak, is going to play every single damn minute they can get him out until they get them up to speed, especially this early in the season, especially against Burnley, right? Then as the season progresses, he starts potentially rotating based on what he has. But I think, Kirkes starts. I think Frimpong, if ready, starts. Florian, I mean, listen, you know damn well Henry's watching from home and he's like, where's that guy that took all my money? They're going to play that guy too. And the question now is, do we see Isak on the bench? That's the only concern I have. But I think we're going to go with, Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, and Florian in the back. We're going to go with the two brand new wing backs and our center backs, Verge and Konate. It's the bench that's making me wonder, is Isak on the bench? That's it. Other than that, I think he's going with his trusted folks and his new players.
I don't think there's any question here. The front three picks itself at this point, fitness and squad depth size. It's going to be Mo, it's going to be Ekitike, and it's going to be Gakpo on the left wing. Kazi, come to you on this one. I saw you nod. I agree. I think Isak makes the bench. I think in an ideal world, he's brought on 20 to 15 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes to go. He gets the jitters out. I'd really like for them to be up 2-0 at the time, so he doesn't come into like a 1-1 draw with this mindset of I have to go win the game for him. But if he has to, that's what you pay British record money for. That's his job.
Have you seen the first 3 games, Gally? There's always a story in every single damn game. He's that last-minute winner. It's just a story.
It does feel like it's written in the stars already. I'm gonna root for an actual comfortable win, like Slot wanted to build here. So. That bench. Let's focus on the bench. How much of an improvement does having a true fourth attacker make this bench now?
Oh, massive.
And what does it mean even for the Chiesas and the Rios to maybe be able to still make appearances and make an impact, but not feel like they're sitting on the bench almost wondering, like, am I going to have to come in and try to rescue this from the jaws? Because they both look like they try to do everything in the first 3 minutes they get on the pitch, because in their mind, they sit there for 80 minutes going, I'm only going to get 10 minutes at the end of this. I got to do it.
Yeah, I mean, what it makes the Chiesa and Rio position is exactly their spot in the team, if you like. They should be 5th and 6th choice as it stands. That's what they should have been at the start of the season. They should have been... Chiesa cannot be no more than your 5th choice. You just can't. I keep saying this. The difference between 4th and 5th choice is it's ginormous in footy when you play a front three. You are 1 injury away from Chiesa starting if you're 4th choice.
Yep.
And I don't think the manager would ever start him 7 out of 10 games. I've said that for a while, right? So what Isak has now provided is, and at least with Ekitike, is Chiesa now is your 5th choice to come in and do the dog minutes. Whether we like to say the dog minutes or not, but Chiesa is still going to have opportunities to prove himself. He might not like being 5th choice. Make yourself 1st choice. You make yourself undroppable. But you come on, you make an impact and you score goals, and then the fans demand you. And the manager has no choice but to play you. So it's exactly the same when I always remember when Jota comes into the front three and we signed Jota, God rest his soul, because it was always like, well, where's he going to play? When he comes on, he had his minutes and he comes in and scores goals. And before you know it, he's starting games. So that you have opportunities to present yourself. Will the opportunities be a fewer? Of course. But I look at games coming up and I think, you look at the Southampton game, for example, Galatasaray away. I know people won't like to hear that, but you might get half an hour against that Galatasaray away. Do you know what I mean? United at home. I know that's like a bit of a joke as well, but, Liverpool, for what United are at the moment, you look and go, well, they are a middle-of-the-road 10 side. Middle, you know what I mean? They're between 7th and 15th. At home, Liverpool could be 2-0 up inside, 40 minutes. Before you know it, you might get minutes there. So there's opportunities to present yourself, and it's up to you to play that. The depth is there. It's great. I still think we're 1 short, but that's just my opinion. But they might think so highly of Rio that they don't think they are 1 short. So we need to find that out, don't we? But the one thing I have to say, gents, is that those 2 players need minutes before Salah goes away. They just need the minutes before Crimbo. And whether we like that or not, because they will be playing a lot more minutes. I know people have had this idea of Frimpong playing right wing, which do you know what I mean? I've been saying all summer, you know what I think his position is, or what I thought his position was, at least at Bayer Leverkusen. I'm not into it, because I like a left footer on that side. I know Liverpool don't really have a left footer anymore because we sold Elliott. So we don't really have a left footer, so the balance is, but I'm sure Liverpool will plan for that. I really do. But it's interesting, man. It's nice to have the option of Ekatike or Isaac. It's kind of like, you know what I mean? Who am I picking to go to bed with you? Either Longoria or Salma Hayek. I can take either. So
yeah, you're not kicking either out of bed right there. I don't disagree with you on Frimpong. I thought that was always kind of a fool's gold. He covers the right wing position when Salah goes to AFCON. If anything, I think it more or less becomes more of the probably more rotation between Frimpong and Bradley to make sure the 60-30s in every match rotating to make sure they both stay fit for the whole month. And maybe even you see a little sprinkle of Joe Gomez at right back if you have to during that time. If one of them needs a rest, I think it's Chiesa. It has to be Chiesa if they stay with this kind of 4-3-3 setup or 4-2-3-1. That's really a 4-3-3. Do you think at some point we start to see, Anand, I'll go to you on this one. Do you think we start to see at some point the mixtures of the formations, the tactics a bit, even in short bits, so that you're getting Isak and Ekatike on the pitch together to see how that might look in some type of a 2 up top, maybe a diamond or even like a 4-man box midfield. But that really does speak to needing to keep Curtis Jones fit and needing to see something out of Neoni if he plays some minutes. Because let's be real, Endo is here to give us the 10 minutes, a yellow card, and a potential second yellow in every appearance that he has. And we're all here for it. I think Endo should have got man of the match for his yellow against Arsenal. 30. It was one of the greatest. He just kicks him.
It reminds me of the Bobby Clark yellow. I got Arsenal away. Remember that yellow?
Yes.
17, and he just hauls him, and it's just like, yes. I cheered that yellow more than a goal. It was amazing.
Absolute tactical foul. I love it. But yeah, I think we eventually do end up trying a different way to get Ekatike and Isak in, and I think it's going to work out. And it's most likely going to happen with Mo's off at AFCON.
Okay.
That's it's not going to be.
Right wing, then? Who would you play right wing?
So that's the debate, and I've seen Florian Wirtz play right wing for Leverkusen, and listen, it looked good. I remember, I think it was it against Bayern or Dort? I don't quote me. It was last season. He looked good. So it's a possibility. To me, when Mo is gone, I know this is more because of the cult hero status that we overgive our players, but I'd love to see Chiesa start on the right. Listen, he had a discussion with Gattuso, and he got called up to the Italian national team, and he told him, no, I'm not ready. I'm not in the best place right now, and I need to do better before I'm playing for Italy. And I respect that in a World Cup here. This is a guy determined to get his shit together with the club before he gets the national team call-up. That could be what spurs it when he starts against Southampton in the Cup. Maybe we see something that we haven't seen last year, because last year he didn't play. And then he starts him against Plymouth and he drops the world's greatest stinker. And then he's like, yeah, you're never coming on again. And I don't think he's ever came on after that.
Scores in the League Cup final, doesn't he?
He scores in the League Cup final when he comes on.
It's the thing though, right? And the Chiesa, he's just too slow. He's not mobile enough to play right wing. And I know what you're saying with Wirtz, because Wirtz has done bits there, but he also has a right wing back because they're playing 3 at the back, so he's not the furthest man forward on the right hand side. So when he picks up the ball, he can look, and Frimpong's doing that for him, right? Because again, when you're playing 3 at the back, that's easy for him. So again, that's where the balance comes in. I think Liverpool got a massive dilemma. I know this we're probably going off on a tangent a bit, but Liverpool have got a massive dilemma when he goes away, and I just think they might just go without right pace on the right hand, and whether that's Itak or Ekatike or whatever, just so you're getting out of jail. And go back to the main point here. You mentioned about Chiesa. Liverpool play Arsenal away when Salah is gone. Are we having Chiesa right wing against Arsenal away? Is that what we're getting at?
I think we're more likely to get Rio starting on the right wing than we would Chiesa. And I'm not taking him down. I'm not saying anything bad about him, but because of the pace, when you're playing an Arsenal side, you're gonna more likely have a Rio than Chiesa. But the other debate would be Szoboszlai. We've seen him play the right wing. We've seen him play the right back.
I think it might be the diamond midfield with 4 in the midfield where Chiesa's on where he's on the right, and you're almost at, and Szoboszlai can give you the running. That's where you just have to make sure that those right, and in those matches that might be more Bradley at right back, because you need a little bit more of traditional defender. I don't love it either.
No, I don't.
No, I'm not in support of it. The other option is obviously moving Ekitike outright, playing Wirtz on the left and playing Ekitike outright, and then going with the tried and true midfield. So if you're worried about, you basically at least then have Szoboszlai's running and power in the middle of the park in the defensive side of things. Look, we're going to have to survive the 5 weeks of AFCON. And honestly, let's be real. What we need to do more than anyone is everyone needs to root against Egypt in every single match they play. And hope they don't get out of the group stage, which never happens in AFCON, where 3 teams from almost every group go to the knockout rounds, which means you lose Mo for another 2 weeks at least. One thing I will say is everyone talks about Ekitike doing minutes out left to get him in the middle, to get Ekitike there, to get Isak and him playing together. People do forget that when Isak came to the EPL, he played as a left wing because Wilson was the starting number 9, and they did very well together. So I know he likes to play in the center of the pitch, but if he has to play out on the left for a period of time, I do think that is more of an option, in my opinion, than Ekitike playing out left. Ekitike looks more suited to be a true number 9 that drops deep and brings play together. He offers as much in the middle. I think Isak is a more polished player. I think Isak is the starter and Ekitike is the understudy. And that's going to be hard for him for how well he started. When do you think we see, before we go on to the Champions League in a moment here, when do you think we see Isak make his first start for Liverpool and on?
The most logical one is Southampton. But who cares about logic anymore, right? So I think hopefully we see a couple of minutes Burnley, but we probably won't see him start till at least Southampton, where it's a low pressure game, where it's you don't have to go out there and be the greatest player ever. Just go out there and get some running in. But what scares me about that is what if he comes into a team that's just mainly the youngins and not a full starting 11, and everybody looks like shit, and then he looks like shit, and then everybody's like, oh, great, he's absolute garbage, and we, so it's I want him when he starts, I want him to start in the best 11. But it doesn't make sense right now. So the best opportunity for him, get him started at Southampton, see how that goes, and go from there. Because he got about 10 minutes or 5 minutes for Sweden. He looked good based on the clips I saw. I did not watch the game. He looked good on the ball, had a couple of opportunities. And in training, looked okay. So I don't know. Maybe too soon. Kazi said it last time. He wouldn't want him start until maybe October, early October, when he's like 100% in. This is a guy who hasn't kicked a ball since last May. So yeah, I don't know. Hopefully Southampton is a good start for him. But if that doesn't work out, the club knows better. Let's not do nothing stupid. Let's wait till he's ready. And we'll get our money's worth 5 games in. I guarantee it. He's gonna go ahead and bag him. No, not against Everton. Absolutely
Tony says
not.
Against Everton. I
think it's too soon.
I can't see a world where the manager says, I have an idea. We should put him into a derby at Anfield against the rivals for the first time. I know Virgil made his first appearance against Everton. It's different with a center back who'd been playing all for the first half of the season comparatively. Kazi, I know you had mentioned, October before, which I had at one point said I could see it stretching all the way 4 match weeks in the league, all the way into the next international break, and giving them a full 6 weeks of training, running. But there's a lot of matches between now and then, and we've talked about only having 4 attackers. And Ekitike has proven at this point he can't give you more than 70 minutes at EPL pace
at the moment
up to this point. So do you think Southampton might be the landing spot for him, and then maybe a lesser side in the Champions League, like maybe a pot 3 side? Or do you think we bought him to be our number 9 in the Premier League, and once he's ready to start matches, he's going to, firmly supplant himself as the EPL striker?
Slot made a big point today in the press conference, didn't he, about the lack of training he's had, which I've said this since when we signed him. So Liverpool need to get through this. I've got Palace away in my head at the end of September. I've got that, and because you go to Galatasaray, and then you play Chelsea away, and then you're playing United at home. So whether you like it or not, you've got a fucking horrific run anyway. So you may as well, you've got to squeeze him in against the one. Palace are unbeaten in the league for a long time, and they're a really, really good side. But I also think they might give you some chances, like they did basically in the League Cup. Sorry, in the Charity Shield. So I do feel like, you know what I mean? I can't see a world he starts against Southampton just because I just think you've got to get minutes into Chiesa and you've got to get minutes into Rio, whether we like it or not. You might be able to do 20 and 30s and things like that. The derby's interesting, but I just think it's come a week too early. I think if it was a week later, they'd take the chance in the derby because I just think you just get the fans. Again, the fans are going to be up anyway to derby, of course. Big game. But it is the R12 kickoff. And sometimes these R12 kickoffs can be like, trust me, lads, when you go to these games at R12 in England, mate, they're hard work at times. But then if you get the team sheet and you see Isaac starting, it's like, it's like a big dope of adrenaline just getting shot into you. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh my God, you're about to see this, lad. Palace away, end of September. Then again, I'm looking at the fixtures, gents. Before you know it, October the 4th is Chelsea away, and then October the 19th, which I'm assuming that's the international break, is the first week in October. Is the other one because it's October the 19th. I
kind of feel almost like that. To your point earlier of you set your lineup for the Champions League, you work your way backwards. I feel like in Arne Slot's mind, he has earmarked Isak needs to be fit and ready to start for that match at Stamford Bridge, and therefore I need to get him a start before that. And what better time than maybe that week before against Palace on the road? And Palace is a very tricky side. It's also not an easy place to go to, Selhurst Park. They're good supporters, but they're right up on your ass. They're right there. It's a loud environment. They're a tricky side to play against with that, the way they defend, but also the power they have in the midfield. I know they lost Eze. We'll see what this Jeremy Pino kid is and if he can replace some of their goals. Mateta is a big, strong lad. I think Isak, having a Premier League experience, number 9, lead your line at Palace, gives you a much better chance of winning than even a young kid who has hit the ground running like Ekitike has. So I think you're spot on. I think that Stamford Bridge match is a very, very big one for Liverpool. It's you hope to have, be on perfect record, if not maybe one draw by the time you go to Stamford Bridge. They are a rival at this point in the league. They've proven that they have kicked on, in my opinion. They've improved. I think, to Kazi's point, I think Chelsea is better. I think Chelsea will finish above Arsenal. I said that at the beginning of the year. I think Chelsea might finish second in this league. I do believe that. You say with that coach?
That goalkeeper?
Oh, well, that's their biggest issue.
Exactly.
I'll tell you right now, I'd put them as not a challenger, like they are better than us, but I'd say they were our number one challenger if they had signed Donnarumma or they had signed the guy from AC Milan, Magnin.
Right now, they haven't. Do you know what I mean? I agree with you. If they signed a world-class keeper, I think they'd be right up there as a big, big challenger for us. But I just think because they haven't. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't think that is deep. I also don't know what's going to happen with the Club World Cup. If you look, I know we've talked before about City's injuries with Pep Linders making the joke about it. They played in the Club World Cup, they've had no break.
And you're seeing the injuries. Delap's already down with a muscle injury.
Yeah.
I think Neto pulled up in the internationals, but they say he's going to be able to play. You got to think they were probably watching England play and Madueke be the best player on the pitch and saying to themselves, we bought 5 wingers this summer and sold our best winger.
If only Chelsea signed a couple of more players to be found, wouldn't they?
They did. I don't know if you saw. They announced today they have 2 players lined up for next June, pre-agreements.
I love them.
I know you do.
I absolutely love Chelsea so much. They're hilarious. I can't believe they signed Garnacho. I can't believe it. Like, that completely bypassed me. That he signed guy, and then I seen him, I was like, is he signed for them?
I feel like sometimes they do things just to take the piss out of United supporters. They're like, we'll sign the players you don't want, and hopefully they'll turn good, and we'll like them, and we'll sell you our trash.
We'll pay $5 million to send Sancho back, but we'll take him off you instead. It's just I love them so much. They're hilarious.
And that $5 million, that's just 10% of the ridiculous Mason Mount fee you paid us 2 years ago.
Honestly,
I mean, you think about like United just buys the players that Chelsea doesn't want.
I love them
and
so
Chelsea
much.
Takes players that United likes. It's unbelievable.
But you can laugh at Chelsea or you like, mate, but you get good money for players. Look at the Jackson deal and things like that, mate. They're getting some money in as well, Do you know what I mean?
So. To be fair to Chelsea, they've sold as well as anyone in the last 5 years, and that's why they're able to buy. I know they skirtailed the rules a few years ago with the 9-year contracts, but they were also smart enough to curtail the rules with the 9-year contracts because it was within the rules. And they were the first team to sell their car park to one of their sister companies and sell their women's side to another club. And now everyone's just following it. Hello, Ryan. Good to have you here. Let's get into the Champions League a little bit, guys. This was an interesting graphic. I think they talked about it earlier in the week. It basically lays out the odds for every team in the Champions League, both top 8 finish and get into the top 24. It's amazing to me that teams like Slava Prague have a 33% chance to get into the top 24 based on, who they're playing and kind of how the math breaks out. It also shows to me that it's almost harder to not qualify for at least the playoff round of this tournament.
Yeah.
So before we get into who Liverpool's playing, the questions I have about it, knowing how it played out last year, should the club look at the group stage of this tournament different than they did last year when they went all in to win every single one of the matches? They went 7 wins, 1 loss, and the only loss was the dead rubber. And then you end up with the eventual champion PSG. I'm still a firm believer you try to win every football match you play, and I think that's how Arne Slot's going to go about it. But when it comes to setting up sides and trying to win the league as well, Kazi, I'll start with you. How should the manager be looking at the balance between the league in Europe, the squads, the starting 11s? Do you prefer when a manager kind of has his league team, his Champions League side starters, and then kind of mix and matches the subs? Or do you just feel like you try to get as many of your best 11 to start every single match you can within reason and within the physios telling, the sports science folks telling you that you can? How do you go at it?
You win your first 5 and then worry about the rest later. Because I think the first 5 still guarantees your top 8 anyway. And I don't mean Liverpool should go to lose a footy match, but I'm saying then you can definitely try to rotate in games and they not start your ultimate 11, for example. I'm going through just having a look at the fixtures here, gents, for you. So just to give you some kind of context, Liverpool's eighth match day. So by the way, Liverpool's 8th match day last year was PSV away. We made 11 changes to beat us, whatever. No one was asked, right? But we played Karabag at home, right? No disrespect. That game should have nothing on it, right? Because before that, 4 days before, we played Bournemouth away, right? So I know what's the most. And by the way, after the Karabag game, 3 days later, we play Newcastle at home. So that should be a rotate, in my opinion. Do you know what I mean? I think that's fair to say. You look at the games again. I look at Inter away. We play Leeds United away 3 days before it. Now, if Liverpool win their first 5 and you have 15 points, I wouldn't mind them doing 5 changes for Inter Milan. I'm not saying, by the way, because this squad is deep enough to make 5 changes and still compete against Inter Milan away and still potentially should be able to have a good enough side to win the game. We're also almost at least the depth between the 2 forwards at right back, midfield, if Curtis Jones is fit and Szoboszlai's there now. Because let's be frank, the manager's preferred midfield 3 at the moment looks like it's Gravenberch, McAllister and Wirtz. So you've still got Szoboszlai and Jones who could come in and do bad businesses for you. The left back situation. The manager, this is so difficult, mate, because there's also a business side to this, where I think you get $1.5 million for winning a game in the Champions League. You know what I mean? By the way, for context of the people who don't know, I think you get about 300 grand for winning the League Cup. So that's I think you only get about 2.5-3 million for winning the FA Cup.
Right.
So as much as we like to win those trophies, there's also a business side where Liverpool had to bring in certain amounts of revenue for Liverpool to go out and sign Isaac and Wirtz in a window. Do you know what I mean? Because this is all a part of the parcel of this. It's a tough balance to get. I think the manager got it wrong last year in terms of the Champions League. I think, if I remember correctly, I'd have to go back, but Bologna at home was stuck in the middle of January when we had League Cup semi-finals. Liverpool were top clear, and he still went full 11. We won 2-0 than me, I think. I felt like he could have made more changes in that game. He does the right thing against PSV. I think we all agree with that. He did the right thing. But I think he did it probably a game week too early. I would like to see a little bit more rotation from probably game week 5. PSV at home. Game week 5, gents. Does that feel like you could do 4 or 5 and still win the home game, by the way? Do you know what I mean? To get the win. So it's going to be super interesting, mate. But I think the manager's learned a lot. I think me and Gal, we spoke about this before, and definitely on one of these podcasts where I think he shit his bed after January and he went, what the hell is happening here with these fixtures? I think he got to that middle of the February when the Villa away game got scheduled in between the derby, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Was it the derby and another City away?
Didn't they had the makeup derby because that one got canceled with the weather. Then they had Villa, then they had the Champions League, then they had another derby.
We had City away. It worked out within a week because we beat Spurs in the League Cup or something daft that the Villa game only had that week to go into, and I think his head completely fell off. I think he was looking, going, "What? You're putting up Villa away in between the derby, you know what I mean? Away at Goodison and then away at the Etihad." I think his head fell off. I think the manager's learned a little bit. I hope he has, at least, because it was his first season in the league. He deserves a chance to make mistakes, but I think he did, and
yes, I think we saw that he did with the type of signings they made in the offseason. Because I think what he told Hughes and Edwards was I did last year with your guys and the one guy you gave me that I didn't want. And I found a way to get through it and we won you a league. But at the end of the year, I had 13 players that I trusted and I played them every minute until we won everything. And then I said, fuck it, let's all go to Ibiza and party. But, and I want to get back there again this year. But to do that, you got to give me 5 signings, and those 5 signings all have to be good enough to get into my starting 11, not be my last guy on the bench. And I'll give you more rotation through the entire season so these players are fresher as the season comes late. Because let's be real, part of the reason that McAllister is dead right now is he was dead in April of last season. And to be fair, he was dead in April or March of the season before as well. Yeah. Klopp's last year, McAllister looked gassed.
That's the World Cup here as well, winner.
Yep. Yeah. And this one is too. So I think you have to be smart. If you want this to be something that keeps going, every one of these players has to go play for their country next year in 90-degree heat in America. You know, good thing is they won't have to play against Americans because they'll be gone after they play their 3 matches. Anand, let's look at the roster. Obviously, we talked about Chiesa earlier. We will, share the Twitter post that came out from Arnslot this morning. Here's the roster here. Obviously, I don't think there's too many surprises on this screen. I wasn't that surprised knowing what our homegrown it's just too bad that Rio wasn't at the club one more year from Chelsea. If he was here one more year, he would have moved into the B-list side team, and then they would have been able to field another player. But are you excited about this squad? Do you believe this is the best group of players they could have chose? Would you have taken Chiesa, and if so, who would you have dropped?
So that's where the big debate all over social media, right? You drop Rio and you take Chiesa because of experience. But you know what? However we see it, the manager doesn't rate Chiesa. It's his last season in the club. I don't even know if he's here past January. Nobody knows that, right? But you got Rio, who's a kid that's gonna be a big deal for the club, hopefully. As long as he's not too rushed in, who has an opportunity to play in the Champions League and begin to build his career. 5 games in, Kazi said it, 5 games in, we've qualified to the next round because we've got the right amount of points. Why not start him against Karabag or, whoever it is, right? Or, okay, maybe not. Why not give him 10, 15 minutes? Kid is going to benefit from it. The club will benefit from it in the long run. What benefit are we going to get from Chiesa playing those 10 minutes if he's off in January or if he's off next summer? He can play in the League Cup. He can play in the in the Carabao Cup, FA Cup, Carabao Cup. But that's his ceiling right now, to be fit, to be ready to play for Italy in the World Cup. Rio, still young, bright future ahead of him. Club looks like they're going to invest plenty in this kid. So yeah, he made the right choices. I'm not upset, and I think this is our best players. This is our best group of guys. We'll go out there and win the Champions League. I have a really good feeling about it.
Kazi, when you look at that roster, how it was constructed itself, we talked all summer long really about the homegrown numbers and kind of where Liverpool is putting themselves up against it, both for registration in the league and registration in the Champions League. And I do think it had a lot to do with not just, Marquez is a quality defender. I also think the fact that he's considered an English homegrown player especially for league purposes, made that a very important signing. And I still think it's an important signing that they make. I want it to happen on January 1st. If it happens on June 1st, so be it. I think it's probably more likely next summer than it is in January. We'll see. It really might have to do with how Palace fares in the Conference League. Do you think we will see over under 2 starts from Mamardashvili in the 8 Champions League group stage matches? Do you think the keeper will get any starts in the group stage? It was something Klopp did a few different times. He didn't do it with Ali as much, except for when it was injuries. He did it earlier on when he was doing the Karius and Mignolet, that year where he gave one the Champions League and the other the league. Do you think we'll see a little bit more Mamardashvili, both to protect Ali? Because at times, 3 matches in 8 days, we've seen what that can do to Alisson at times, with the muscle injuries and the other things. And plus, he is now firmly Brazil's number 1. As Carlo Ancelotti said, we do not have a goalkeeper question any longer in Brazil.
Yeah,
Alisson is number 1 through the World Cup.
It's a great point. I don't know if you'll see him like that again. I think if for injuries, you might see him in the game week 8, probably the Carabao game. Do you know what I mean? If Liverpool have done the business, again, we've just discussed about the League Cup. I don't expect Ali to play in the League Cup. Mamardashvili should just be a League Cup keeper. Should be your FA Cup keeper, in my opinion. So Ali's had, at least an FA Cup moment. He hasn't really played in the League Cup anyway, so he was kind of used to that because Kelleher was always our League Cup keeper.
Yep.
But Ali has won the FA Cup as well. Saved a pen in the final, in the penalty shootout at least. So I do feel like some keepers know what they're getting into. I always say this: keepers know what you're getting into when you're going to be a keeper. It's a very hard. It's not like, you can go and play right back today if you're a centre half. We'll get you 20 minutes at right back to keep it. So it's just like, it is what it is. And he kind of knew what he was getting into anyway. He knew what he was getting into 12 months ago when he signed. He knew that he was signing to be the understudy for the best keeper in the world. Do you know what I mean? And until his legs fall off, figuratively at least, he's going to, but that's his position in the squad. So I know what you're saying, Gal. It's a fair point because Ali loves an injury. Ali loves his 6 weeks here and there. And that's why Liverpool went out and spent big on a second keeper, because they knew the best in the world gets his injury. So difficult for Mamardashvili to get minutes, but I do expect him still to get minutes. Again, going back to the old Champions League Chiesa argument, I think it's sad. I think it's guttering, but there's also parts of it's only because he missed out over Rio. And again, I'll go back to it, unfortunately, but if he missed out over Jota, no one would be complaining, would they? Do you know what I mean? So, it's only because he's missed out over Rio. That's the argument. Do you know what I mean? So that's where the balance is again. So Rio and Chiesa both would have missed out if Diogo was here. So it's just I think that's where people have got the kind of the stick in the mud here. But also Chiesa can't do 3 games in a week, and he probably feels like Rio can in certain aspects in certain moments of games is what I mean. For example, can you expect Chiesa to do 3 minutes in 8 days, 7 days? I just don't see it. And he probably thinks he probably gets that out of Rio in a weird way. So there's also that part as well. But there's also a part of the gents where they can be taken as a negative, of course. Chiesa can play his way back in. Chiesa can play his way. You're going to get minutes in the League Cup, and you're going to get your games. You're going to get minutes. And then when we pick our knockout Champions League squad,
I was just going to say, and that's getting lost in all this. That's getting lost in all this. If he clearly during January has 2 or 3 starts in random cups and plays well in the League Cup and gets a start in the league and plays well, he has a chance to earn his way onto that roster. And maybe by then something's changed. Maybe by then Nioni's gotten a lot more minutes and they think we can do this without Endo. I don't think they'd ever do that because you want the warrior. You just want him there as a leader. I know. How dare I bring it up?
Don't you mention that about my warrior, beautiful man.
I did think that these were interesting quotes that Anand shared this morning as we were prepping for the show. Onslaught on Chiesa out of the Champions League list. It was tough for me. It's difficult for him, of course. He wasn't happy with that decision, but he understood the argument. He gave the answer you want to hear from a player, and he will be there to help the other cups and in the Premier League. And the one thing I will say, regardless of the reports that come in that he wants to go back to Italy, that he's happy, Federico Chiesa has been nothing but a consummate professional since joining Liverpool Football Club, and a player who won Player of the Tournament at the Euros, and granted it was 5 years ago at this point, and was arguably at that point one of the hottest commodities in all of European football, being brandished a $100 million price tag. He has taken his time at Liverpool with grace and civility. He is offered nothing but a professional. And I think that's why everyone loves to rag on the song being so great, and it's a great fucking song. But they love singing it because they actually love the player.
Yeah.
They wouldn't sing it with that passion and that love if there wasn't a love. And has any player had such a great song and so much fanfare before the big moment? His moment against Bournemouth was brilliant, but you would have thought he had 4 90-plus minute winners in him over the last 2 years rather than the guy who left in the summer. Yeah. Based on the love and admiration that he gets. Anan, give me your prediction. I think you said it earlier. How well do Liverpool do in this European competition this season?
I think win the whole thing. I strongly believe win the whole thing. Florian Wirtz is going to be unlocked eventually. And when he is, that midfield is going to just look different. And then you got Isak in there. Oh my, I can't even think about this right now without getting excited. Move on to the next person.
It feels like a dream that we've got Isak. It still feels like a fever dream. It's just so weird when you see like the options that we have now. Do you know what I mean? It's just wild, isn't it? I mean, no, I'm probably with Gally, to be honest. And Anne. I just feel like it's I'm not going to say to Liverpool's to lose, far from it. It's a cup competition and anything can happen. Do you know what I mean? Of course, you can have a bad 19 year out. That's footy. And we're playing an absolute scumbag team on Wednesday, who you're going to find out pretty darn quick how footy can equalise you here. But Liverpool are one of the favourites, and Liverpool should be taken seriously. And I will say it consistently. No one wants to go back to Anfield. No one. And again, PSG were unbelievable last year and they completely deserved to win it. They battered us. But we battered them in the second leg, even though they won the game. There was 2 smash and grabs over both legs. We smashed and grabbed them at their place. They smashed and grabbed us at our place.
Yeah, if Kwanzaa's header goes off the post and comes in a different direction and buries in the 88th minute, we win that game. We win the tie 2-1. We go on and we probably win that competition just like they did. And Arnslot wins the big double in his first year. I mean, we were that close. We were still one of the best 4 teams in the Champions League last year.
That's footy.
This is one of the things where every single pundit said whoever wins Liverpool PSG wins the Champions League, and there was other teams still in the competition. It wasn't like it wasn't even the set. That's it.
But that's how small. That's why fine margins in football. That's why it's such a low scoring sport that we always talk about when it comes to VAR, disallowing goals and things. It's such a low scoring sport as it is that you're having such an impact on the game. Do you know what I mean? It's not like an NFL player getting an extra yard. It's a high scoring game. They run yards all the time. This is different. So again, Liverpool will have a massive chance. A really, really big chance. Bayern Munich like a bag of rags at the moment. But again, they still have quality players. They still have goal scorers. It's a bit like City. Gally, you mentioned it before. City are going through transition. But they have Erling Haaland. And he can just win a game on his own.
They can win any game.
I would put them as favourites as well, just because of the striker alone. Again, it can also be favourable with a draw. Do you know what I mean? Liverpool got PSG by finishing top. Like, it can be favourable sometimes when you get your draw and he's playing well at the time. So, do you know what I mean? No, but I'll put Liverpool right up there.
So I didn't ask this. We'll get you out of here both on this. Sunday, give me a scoreline. Give me the prediction. How does it unfold? Anand, we'll start with you.
I'll go 3-0.
3-0. So we're getting away from the last-minute winners. I am a huge fan of that. I don't know that my heart needs another cardiac arrest and or moment at what would be 9:45 in the morning or 11:45 in the morning, 10:45 in the morning on the East Coast it's going to be, which is an hour earlier for you guys or 3 hours earlier for Kazi. So how loud will the Kazi household be come the 90-minute mark, and what will the final score be, Kaz?
Oh, an Onslaught special. Like, can we go back to one of them? Remember them? They used to be the good old days, the old 2-0s. We took them for granted. Yeah. No, I just think I do think Liverpool win. I just think it would be in the early kickoff on the Sunday before the derby. Sometimes you get a weird little result. Liverpool could win comfortably. like 3 or 4 if you wanted to. But again, Liverpool don't keep clean sheets at the moment. I know we did against Arsenal, but Arsenal didn't want to have a shot on goal and didn't really want to win the footy match. So I do count it as a clean sheet, I suppose. But I mean, I think Burnley will still probably offer more than Arsenal did. But I just want to see Liverpool look like their old selves again. Do you know what I mean? Like, look a bit more organised. Look like they know where the passes are going. Look like they're firing passes into each other a little bit. As much as these last-minute winners are all fun and it's all nice, fine and dandy, it's not sustainable to win Premier Leagues. Yeah. Liverpool have to go out there and show it. But I would still probably get a comfortable 2-0 win, but Liverpool probably have like 18 shots, 2-0 win. Kind of one of them ones.
That's basically what I'm thinking. I'm hoping for. I would love another, to your point, I would like an adult victory. I'd like to see the tactics, the tactics put out there, be taken seriously right out of the rip. I'd like to see them come out of the blocks playing well, putting pressure on Burnley. We know Burnley's going to sit back. They're going to defend with 5. You know, we know they have Kyle Walker. You know, the quiet thing, as Anand mentioned, Burnley is playing pretty good football. They've done a really good job defending, and they were one of the best defenses in the whole world last year. I mean, it was ridiculous numbers. I know they're in the championship, but people say it's just the championship. It's a tough league to play in. It's a tough league to defend in. And I think they gave up like 11 goals in 30 matches at one point during the season.
Yeah, they had JJ Watt warming up because he thought he was coming out of retirement.
Yeah, he thought he was going to have to come out of retirement. I'm going to say 2-0, but more importantly, I think the clean sheet and the organization in the back looking like they just kind of like they go out there, they get the job done, a workman-like approach.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see it won by the 60th minute. And I understand we've had leads in Newcastle and Bournemouth and we gave them up, but I'd like to see a 2-3 goal lead. I'd like to see him be able to go to the bench to rest some guys and some legs for Atletico, or get guys who are going to start that match some minutes. And let's be real, I do want to see Alexander Isak score a goal. I want to see the celebration because he's going to do the gun thing, or he's going to do this one, and he's going to make sure that it's right in front of the camera, and he's basically going to be sending it to every single lad and lass in Newcastle that is basically called him a rump and a jerk for the last 90 days.
Just comes on with a zebra mask, and the black and white zebra mask.
It would be amazing. It would be great if he just took his shirt off, took the yellow, and it just said "I'm free" or something beautiful,
like a magpie mask for the magpies doing this.
Oh, let's never kid ourselves either, right? We all know there is going to be a time when he scores a worldie at St. James's Park, and he's going to celebrate that goal like he just won the World Cup for Sweden.
I want him in the cup just to go back up there with him. Do you know when we had that chat, when are you going to start him in the League Cup 4th round when we play Newcastle away? Send them up there on his own. Brilliant.
All right, to everybody that has joined us today in the chat, to the couple new subscribers we got, thank you very much. Thanks for all the comments. Ryan, last score, he's going 2-0, early pen, then a late insurance goal. Hopefully that insurance goal is by the new record signing. For everyone on here, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, give it a like, send it off to a friend. We'll be back. I believe we're going to have a pre-match show. I don't know about a watch-along yet, but we'll be here all weekend. We got some articles coming out. We have more content to share. For everyone at American Scouser TV, thanks for watching. Have a great weekend and enjoy the match.